Well, hi, everybody. It's the Week in the Tackle podcast, the podcast where we get together on a weekly basis and tackle things from the world of football that we find interesting. We couldn't get together on Monday as per usual because Dunny is a television star. That's Brian Dunseth. I'm Tom Rennie. And so we thought we'd record a quick 10 minutes now and then we'll do a full show again for you next week. And the most exciting bit, Dunny, about your excellent TV work covering the US men's national team, it wasn't positivity about a victory over Japan. It wasn't Flo Balogun scoring. It wasn't any of that. It was the return of the Liberace salmon suit. That's the thing that people want to talk about. That's the reason we've got together today. You were on national television, and I know America has a variable sense of how to dress. But you're there next to very well-dressed people on national television.
Debatable.
In your amazing salmon suit. Did people reference this? Do people know how much the Week in the Tackle pod listeners were excited about it?
Yeah, man. Listen, I got so many compliments. Even the security guards are like, I'm standing there, I'm waiting to go out at halftime. The security guard goes, "Hey, sir," and I'm like thinking he's gonna bust my chops about like my pass being like attached to my on my belt as opposed to wearing it, and he goes, "Love this suit, bro." And I was like, "Yeah," but a ton of compliments. It is salmon. People are like, "Is it purple? Is it mauve? What color is this?" And I was like, "It's salmon," but it all is dependent upon the lights, if it's in the middle of the day, in the afternoon, or the evening. But the salmon suit made its glorious return to U.S. soccer after about a year and a half away. I think it was last time I wore it was US-Mexico. So, yeah. And I don't know, man, coincided with a pretty damn good result against Japan.
Well, this is your lucky suit now. That's what I was going to say. So you now need to wear this every time the US play. This is like so now you're a TV star. Like most of your career kind of has been, even if when, you're not playing, being in football kits or whatever, has been behind the mic. Now you're always on screen. This could be your shtick. Like some people have like hats or they have feather boas. Like who was the... Jesse the Body Ventura coming out in a feather boa.
Did you just do a shimmy? Did you just do the chicharito? You did the chicharito right there.
I did a Jesse the Body Ventura. They were doing a little shimmy or whatever. This could be your thing.
This is chicharito.
He could be like, the guy in the white suit, the guy in the salmon suit. It could be your thing.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I think I'll switch it up.
Okay, fair enough.
No, it's a rotation thing. You do have to be careful because people do notice what you wear. You got to be careful with how often you wear things.
Yes.
And then like mixing and matching, like, "Yo, bro, get a new suit." And you're like, "Shut up, jerk."
Don't do that. So when I was in Texas recently, Pete, our boss, had a go at me because I was wearing the same outfit every day. And he was like, I'm just going to do a weird voice. It's not his voice. "Dude, do you not have a change of clothes?" That's not Pete's voice, but yeah.
That's actually really good, Pete. Yeah, spot on.
But I was like, no, I bought 5 black t-shirts and 5 identical pairs of shorts. I don't want to have to, that thing about like what Mark Zuckerberg does and all that when it comes to like, I picked this in the morning so I don't have decision fatigue by the time I need to make actual decisions. So I just have the same outfit over and over again. Anyway,
no problem with it.
Football chat. That's it. How were the America games? I love how. So I wasn't across international break. I like to have a few days off, but I love how like just reading a bit of the review was after the first game. We're not going to get out of the group. It's all doom and gloom. And then Japan, it was like, oh, we're quite good actually. We could win this tournament.
Yeah, listen, I think it's a really fascinating conversation. There's so much nuance to it, and I know we're trying to keep it tight, and it's maybe a conversation for another day, but. There is this weird conversation, I think, to be had about understanding what our expectations are as football fans, as pundits, as media members, as former players, versus the internal dialogue of how we're seeing this group put together and thinking about now versus the next couple of windows. The reality is that ever since 2022, and I had Shaw Brown, our producer, put the starting 11 from the Netherlands match from the quarterfinals in the 2022 World Cup up for a reason. Because I think off the top of my head, it was Matt Turner in goal, Jedi Robinson, Tim Ream, Walker Zimmerman, Serginho Dest, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa, Christian Pulisic, Tim Weah, Jesus Ferreira at the number 9, but Jesus Ferreira was replaced by Gio Reyna in the second half. And if you think about those names, that's still kind of the glass ceiling of like top performers for the U.S. men's national team. In the nuance of all of this, and it's one of the reasons why I brought this up, is that maybe we need to rearrange some of our thinking because when we talk about quote unquote the golden generation, right? This terminology that's been used and then dissected and pulled back. The reality is that this group of players has easily proven that they are kind of the elite group of what we have. So you talk about Ernie Stewart and Brian McBride leaving. You think about the Reyna situation versus the Berhalter situation immediately following the World Cup. You think about Matt Crocker coming in and then reinstating Greg Berhalter after BJ Callahan, Nashville SC's head coach, did a fantastic job winning the Nations League and going to a Gold Cup final. The failure at Copa America, the firing of Greg Berhalter, and then losing the Nations League in the semifinals against Panama, subsequent third place match against Canada. Then you go into the Gold Cup, and the he said, she said, he doesn't want to be there. I need everyone wants to be here. Here, check out my interview. No, listen to my podcast. Hey, check out this documentary. The reality is, everyone can be right and everyone can be wrong. And I got no problem with everyone's perspective in this, but I don't really care. I really don't. And I think what we learned was all of that drama was completely unnecessary outside of setting standards of what Mauricio Pochettino and his staff are expecting in terms of commitment and passion and everything that we equate with representing the U.S. men's national team. And they come at from a different lens, right? Playing for Argentina, going to a World Cup, representing their country, and then ultimately managing massive, massive clubs. So the buy-in conversation is a unique one. I also think it's important to realize that a year on for Mauricio Pochettino being named head, actually today, it was a year ago today. Yeah, that he's still getting to know his group. And whatever the list was of players that were provided to him as he and his group dug into the depth of this roster, there's also room for players to play really well. And guys like Tristan Blackman playing in Vancouver, even though he struggled against Korea specific to the goal against Sunny, had a much better game against Japan. Christian Roldan, who has been fantastic all year round, he was a part of the 2022 World Cup, but specific to his performance against Lionel Messi's Inter Miami in the final of the Leagues Cup, justify his inclusion into the group, and he gets a substitute appearance and then a start against Japan. So it's almost, and by the way, and I'm glad that I almost wish Mauricio would have come out earlier and explained this as opposed to in between the Korea result and the Japan result, that, hey guys, listen, I need to see these guys right now. It's one of the last opportunities I'm going to look at guys that are in Major League Soccer. This also coincides with guys like Malik Tillman and Johnny and Yunus Musa settling into their new clubs. Weston McKennie getting a little bit fitter coming off the offseason and a short turnaround time from the FIFA Club World Cup. And, all of these, Ricardo Pepi and whoever else we want to include. But in also in that conversation, it's, hey, keep in mind the MLS playoffs are going to really start kicking off in October. The guys in Europe are going to have almost 10 games underneath them. Yeah. So now I can start closing and tightening the screws and thinking about Ecuador, Australia, Paraguay, Uruguay, 4 teams. Actually, we talk about no jeopardy for World Cup qualifying. These are 6 teams, Korea, Japan. I think the total number was they conceded 9 goals in World Cup qualifying. 9 goals in 32 games. They're qualified for the World Cup. Ecuador, Australia qualified for the World Cup. Paraguay, Uruguay qualified for the World Cup. If Portugal and Belgium come over, qualified for the World Cup. So all of these games are maybe best case scenario for a team that doesn't have to qualify for a World Cup. So now we get into the minutia and the details of player performance, put all this stuff in the summer to bed, and try to figure out ultimately, which might be the biggest conversation of all this, Tom, a 3-in-the-back system that benefits Chris Richards, Tim Ream, Mark McKenzie, Miles Robinson, all guys that have played in this system. That then you think about Jeddah on one side, you think about Alex Freeman or Serginho Dest on the other. You think about Tyler Adams having a guy that sits as the pivot. You think about hiding Christian Pulisic without any defensive responsibility next to Diego Luna or Alex Zendejas. And then Flo Balogun proving that he's the number 9. I mean, his player profile, his athleticism, his chance generation in the attacking phase of play is unique to anybody else. And Josh Sargent, a guy who has all of this run and equity of scoring goals, just can't figure out a way for it to translate to the U.S. men's national team. So broad stroke, that's kind of the baseline of what I saw over this window, predicated by a change of formation that might benefit this group going forward the most.
Something to look into. I hadn't noticed it previously, but I was with Jack Collins earlier today, the Encyclopedia of Football, and he was talking about how it was very Bielsa, the way the US set up. And it was very much what a formation and a style that Bielsa was using, maybe like a few tournaments ago, a 3-3-3-1. It was a very brief comment that he made, but it's something for you to look into, I think, because I thought it was quite interesting.
Yeah, I would adjust what Jack's saying just because I was there and like watching, like having my hands into it and watching it. it's really a 3-4-3 with a box. And Korea played this well. And again, it's a broad stroke for the fanatics that have tactics, and I would love to have this conversation with Jack. But Korea essentially went through four different shapes in without the ball, with the ball, base defending, and then attack press. They went through 4 to 5 different shapes. And both of these teams effectively played a similar style. But what I think the United States ultimately, the hybrid that they played in the best was matching Korea's formation. And that is, and this is the benefit of playing all of these different federations and all these different styles of play. They played a 3-man back line. They played a box with 2 deep, 2 up top. So effectively just a square box. And then the wing backs were effectively the high wingers. So it was a 3-4-3. It wasn't as Bielsa as I think Jack's, and I agree with Jack, and it's all also kind of the Argentine connection. And, look at all these guys that are Bielsa lights. I think Pochettino would absolutely have that conversation about his theoretical tactical approach with what Bielsa does. But just to separate it, it was a 3-4-3 with square box midfield with Tyler Christian sitting and protecting the 3 in front and being relayers, with Christian and Zendejas sitting in the pocket. I would have loved to see Luna have the opportunity to play in this system longer as opposed to just 10 minutes, fatigued, haven't played a game for 3 weeks against Korea. And then I thought he and McGlynn played in that dual 10 role really well in the final 20 minutes against Japan. But I would love to see Luna and Zendejas, or Luna and Pulisic from a start, from an opening whistle. And then, the 2 wingers. But here, Arfston, I think, was strong, but I think we all kind of agree Jedi's going to be over there. I think Freeman was strong, but Dest is like just higher than him right now in terms of his professional development in the stage of his career. I wonder in this setup what that means for Weston McKennie and Yunus Musa, specific to those two, because that could be a dire situation dependent upon the interpretation, because Tyler in this setup needs a dog next to him. And whether that dog is Christian Roldan or Sebastian Berhalter or a Yunus Musa or somebody else that's just pure 6, shuttler 8, that would ask Weston to be more stay home than I think he would theoretically like to be as a stay home in that midfield.
That's all we've got time for today, but we'll certainly pick this up again. I think the formation chat is really interesting. We'll do it on a longer version of the show in the future, maybe in the next international break when we see what it looks like. Finally, you and Poch are getting on well. Did he mention the suit? I want to end where we began. Did he mention the suit? Because he is a very well-dressed man, Pochettino.
No, he didn't mention the suit, but I tagged him in the Instagram post, and it's either he or his handlers liked the Pochettino handle, liked the Instagram post. So I think that's a yes.
Friends. Pochettino's my friend. Yeah.
Don't be jelly. We can figure out the Graham Potter. Let's see if Graham Potter will like one of your blue skies.
Let's see if it'll last first. Give it a couple of weeks, and I'll see
thought
if
you
you'll
liked him. Well, you liked him before the international break. What's happening?
One swallow does not make a summer, but I'm delighted they won before the international break. See, Fulkrug's injured again. See that? Injured again. God. There was no way of knowing. Anyway, we'll talk about that next week. That's Brian Dunseth over there. Thank you very much indeed. I'm Tom Money. It's the Week in the Tackle podcast. The full show is coming next week. Subscribe to the feed. Subscribe on YouTube. If you're doing one, then do the other. And tell a friend about the show as well. The full show reviewing this weekend's games, including the Manchester Derby. That's going to be fun. Is coming next week. We'll see you
then. What was his name? Oh, Nana. What was his name?
We should always end on you doing a song. Why is that not a thing we do?
I don't know.
Next week.
Okay.